Imagine waking up tomorrow, looking into your bathroom mirror, and seeing absolutely nothing. No reflection, no face looking back, just an empty frame. For a human, this would be a psychological horror story. But for your pet dog, this is just Tuesday. When a dog looks into a mirror, they don't see themselves. They see a stranger, a ghost, an intruder who perfectly mimics their every move, yet lacks a scent, a history, or a soul. But here is the question that has haunted philosophers and biologists for centuries. Does the dog fail to recognize its reflection because it lacks a concept of the mirror, or because it lacks a concept of itself? Does an animal possess an eye? Do they know that they are a unique, individual entity moving through a vast universe, carving out a narrative of their own life? Or are they merely incredibly complex biological programs, flawless organic machines reacting to hunger, fear, and survival instincts, entirely blind to their own existence? Today, we dive into the deep, often unsettling science of animal self-awareness to answer a question that changes everything about how we view the living world. Do animals know they exist? For decades, science didn't really have a tool to measure the soul. That changed in 1970, when a psychologist named Gordon Gallup Jr. devised a deceptively simple experiment. It became known as the Mirror Self-Recognition Test, or the MSR. The concept was brilliant. Researchers took animals, anesthetized them, and placed a small, odorless spot of red dye on a part of their body they could only see in a mirror, like their forehead or ear. When the chimpanzees woke up and saw their reflection, they didn't try to fight the mirror. Instead, they looked at the red dot, reached up, and touched their own faces. They realized, in a flash of profound cognitive insight, that shape in the glass isn't another animal. That is me. For years, this test was considered the absolute gold standard of consciousness. Passing it meant entering an incredibly exclusive elite club of terrestrial intelligence. Dolphins passed, elephants passed, magpies passed, proving that even birds, with brains structurally entirely different from mammals, could possess a mirror of the mind. For a long time, humanity comforted itself with this short list. We told ourselves that self-awareness was a rare, majestic gift reserved only for the most highly evolved, large-brained creatures. Until 2018, scientists decided to put a tiny tropical fish called the cleaner wrasse through the mirror test. They placed a small brown mark on its throat. What happened next shocked the scientific community to its core. The fish swam up to the mirror, spotted the mark, and immediately swam down to the bottom of the tank to scrape its throat against the sand, trying to rub the mark off. It looked back in the mirror to check if it was gone. It passed. A fish, a creature with a brain smaller than a peanut, passed the exact same psychological test passed by a human toddler or a chimpanzee. This threw the scientific world into chaos. Does a cleaner wrasse possess a deep, existential understanding of its own mortality and place in the universe? Or does it mean that our gold standard test for the soul is deeply, fundamentally flawed? The fundamental flaw of the mirror test is simple. It is deeply human-centric. It assumes that every creature experiences the universe through the windows of their eyes. We are visual creatures, so we assume consciousness must be visual too. But consider your dog. Dogs fail the mirror test miserably. They ignore the reflection or bark at it. But a dog doesn't live in a world of sights. They live in a world of smells. To a dog, a mirror is an illusion, a trick that says someone is there, but whose scent profile says the room is completely empty. To fix this bias, a researcher named Dr. Alexandra Horowitz developed the yellow snow test. She presented dogs with canisters of their own urine and canisters of other dogs' urine. The results were definitive. The dogs spent significantly less time sniffing their own scent than they did the scents of others. They already knew what they smelled like. They didn't need to investigate it. They recognized their own chemical signature. It was an olfactory mirror. Think about a bat navigating a pitch-black cave using echolocation, mapping the world through returning echoes. When thousands of bats screech at once, a bat can isolate its own echo from the deafening noise of the crowd. It knows its own voice. It knows its own boundary. If we force a bat, a dolphin, or a dog to look into a piece of human glass to prove it exists, we aren't testing its self-awareness. We are only testing its eyesight. Instead of looking at self-awareness as an on and off switch where you either have an eye or you don't, modern cognitive science is beginning to view consciousness as a rich, multi-layered spectrum. The very first layer is simple bodily awareness. This is the foundational understanding of where your pores end and the rest of the world begins. If a hermit crab seeks out a larger shell because its current body is growing too tight, it possesses bodily awareness. It understands its physical boundaries, but the higher layers of the spectrum are where things get truly mind-bending. Take mental awareness, often referred to by psychologists as the theory of mind. This is the ability to understand not just what you know, but what someone else knows. Crows and ravens are masters of this. If a crow buries a cache of food while another crow is watching, it knows it is being observed. The moment the witness leaves, the first crow will dig up its food and hide it somewhere else. Think about what this requires. The crow has to think, I know where the food is. That crow saw me put it there. Therefore, that crow knows what I know, and it might steal it. This isn't just reacting to a stimulus. This is a complex internal monologue. This is an animal navigating a psychological landscape populated by other minds. And then, there is episodic memory, the ability to mentally travel back through time. When a squirrel searches for a nut it buried months ago, is it just following a blind, hardwired urge? Or does it actually remember the specific Tuesday afternoon it buried that exact nut? Does it remember itself in the past? If an animal can remember its past self and plan for its future self, then it is living a story. It has a narrative. It exists in time just like we do. We have spent centuries desperately trying to draw a line in the sand between humanity and the rest of the animal kingdom. We told ourselves that we are the only ones who can reason, the only ones who can feel grief, and the only ones who know that we exist. But the deeper science digs, the more that line dissolves into mist. Animals may not sit under the stars pondering the heat death of the universe or worrying about their bank accounts. They may not experience existential dread in the hyper-specific neurotic way humans do. But make no mistake, they are in there. They are looking back at us. They feel the warmth of the sun. They experience the sting of grief when a companion dies. They navigate complex social worlds, and they possess a profound, localized understanding of their own presence in this moment. They don't need to pass a human mirror test to validate their existence. The universe has already validated them. If this changed the way you look at the living world, consider subscribing. The next time you look your pet in the eyes, remember, you aren't looking at a biological machine. You are looking at a unique consciousness, holding up its own mirror to the universe. And perhaps they are wondering the exact same thing about you.